What I clocked first off, I was thinking, what is there something familiar about this raft that they're on? Which was obviously really clever with the whole way you looked into the reflection of the water.
Yeah, I like that.
As we got to maybe episode 5, I'm thinking, this guy must be somebody because I'm sorry, but his storyline is boring. Why is he still here? Why is he still around?
Just have a conversation with somebody about something, and
Yeah.
be even though you're not human, be human. We've got Lenny. My boy Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry from Jamaica.
He's a massive,
He's a British hero.
Yes,
He's a very important person for Britain. When we're talking about the firsts, one of the first black comedians in Britain. I run there. I run there.
I run there. I run back.
That storyline was probably my favorite. And he had humility about him that the other elves I don't think had. I hope you guys ain't got no issue with this.
Melanin.
With this, because it is what it is, and a lot of people just don't want people like this in Middle Earth. They don't want to see people like this in Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. They don't want to see people like me at all. Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. It is me, Chosen Wizdom.
And it's me, Divergent Carl.
Yes sir, and we are back with more conversation. So, let's talk guys. Let's talk. The topic of today is Lord of the Rings.
The Rings of Power. So the whole series.
The whole series. Yes, we have watched the whole series. We haven't reacted to the series because we are busy people. But we have conversation. We have a lot to say. So let's have a conversation about this series because a lot have been said about it. And we want to give you guys our 2 cents. So before we start, as usual guys, smash the like, turn on the notifications, and if you haven't yet subscribed, please subscribe below.
Yeah. So this one, Lord of the Rings.
The Rings of Power. The Rings of Power is a fantasy series, of course, set in Middle Earth. It is part of the Lord of the Rings franchise, and in fact, it is set before Lord of the Rings, perhaps 1,000 years before Lord of the Rings, and essentially tells the story of the elves, Sauron, and how the rings came to be. Let's talk about it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it. First and foremost, I have to say that I wasn't that interested in watching this. I watched Lord of the Rings. I enjoyed Lord of the Rings. I'm pretty sure you enjoyed Lord of the Rings as well. But because Lord of the Rings was so many years ago, I've almost forgotten the characters, forgotten the story. It's in the back of my mind. I wasn't really interested in rehashing that whole thing of Middle Earth. But, I gave it a go. The episodes are about an hour long, 70 minutes, which is very surprising. And essentially, I think it's 9 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah.
Which means it's almost like a trilogy.
Yeah.
Isn't it? It's
the length of a trilogy.
It's the length of a trilogy. So, but in the end, I started watching it. I got into it. And I'm not going to bash it the way that a lot of people online are bashing it. Because at the end of the day, I watched the show and I had fun. I enjoyed it. Was it the best show I've ever watched? No, and we'll get into it.
Yeah.
Of course we will. But I enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the characters. I do have critique, and I'm pretty sure you have critique as well. And we're going to get into that, guys. But in all, I think the show was a good show. It's a good show. I had fun watching it.
Yeah. I echo a lot of what you've said. This for me was going to be a filler show, something to watch, and we didn't start watching it right when it first came out. I'm not the biggest Lord of the Rings fan. I have seen the movies. I saw the movies mostly when I worked at a movie theatre or cinema, as we call it here. And so when you work in the cinema, you watch movies, you just stand in the screen, you see half the movie. I've never rewatched it. I find the stories very interesting, very beautiful, very stunning visually. The stories that are being told about family and death and deathlessness and duality and stuff, that I find very fascinating.
Yeah.
But I've never rewatched it and I've never actually wanted to. So I think the series did well to get me to want to stick around to the end to see what happens.
Yeah, yeah.
But if they didn't make a season 2, I would be okay with that, if I'm honest. I don't know how you feel about that.
No, I agree. I enjoyed it. I didn't hate it, but I wouldn't give it like a 9 out of 10 or 8 out of 10. It wasn't amazing. It wasn't. It was just a good show.
Yeah.
A good show. 6. I'd probably give it a 7. Maybe 6, 6.5, 7. It's a 7. 7. It's a good show, but it wasn't perfect. And we're going to talk about things that I believe didn't work well in the show. I don't know. Where do you want to start?
Well,
where do we want to start?
There's a lot to get into, isn't there?
There's so many themes.
Yeah, themes is a good place to start. Yeah. Like the show is just filled with themes, just like the books.
Mm-hmm.
So thinking about things like love.
Love is a typical theme throughout the whole show.
Yeah, and not just, all kinds of love. I'm not just talking about romantic love, father-son love, familial love, community love, love for your elders.
You see a lot of love in the Hartford community.
Yeah.
They encompass that homie love, that community, that family.
Absolutely. And the relationship, I think, between Elrond and Durin, the dwarf king's son.
Yes, that
there's
brotherly love.
Yeah.
Yes, that transcends race.
Yeah.
Because they're two different races.
Yeah.
And they love each other like a brother.
Mm-hmm.
So
they call each other brothers. Even.
They call each other.
Yeah.
You know what I think about this show, Lord of the Rings? I think, and we're going off topic a little bit, but I'm going to say this. I think being out or the show coming out at the same time of Game of Thrones was a bad idea. And the reason why I say it's a bad idea is because they're two different shows. In fact, Lord of the Rings is not a show. Lord of the Rings is a movie that they've turned into a series.
Yeah.
Game of Thrones is a series already. So they're trying something new with Lord of the Rings. And I just think a lot of people will be comparing the two when they're so different. They are so different. You should watch them and treat them as two different things. One is, technically speaking, a thriller.
Yeah.
For me, when I watch Game of Thrones, it's intense.
You're on edge. It's like
You're on edge. Anyone could die at any time. A dragon could kill you at any time. It is a thriller, almost. Whereas Lord of the Rings, for me, was always almost a drama.
Like a fantastical drama.
Of course, it had battle scenes in it, big battle scenes. But it wasn't about just dying and death. You went on the edge. Because Game of Thrones sets you in a sort of a self-preservation mode where, you could die at any time. That's the whole point, Game of Thrones. Whereas Lord of the Rings is about love and companionship. And of course, the first film was called The Fellowship of the Rings, which is about fellowship.
Yeah.
So I think people who watch Game of Thrones might not be able to adjust their minds when they watch Lord of the Rings.
It's a good point.
And therefore just judge it incorrectly. It's slow-paced.
Yeah.
It's very slow-paced, and that's fine because Lord of the Rings is slow-paced.
Yeah.
All they're doing is traveling. All Frodo and Sam did for 9 hours was travel.
That's like London traffic.
And walk. That's what they did. And then have conversation. And then along the way, they meet people and all these things. Mm-hmm. That's what it was about. A lot of journeys and stuff.
Yeah.
So when
inner journeys, external journeys, getting all involved.
And then when you're watching Game of Thrones, you're seeing time jumps. You're seeing someone who's 7, and the next episode they're 20. You're seeing this action after action and intense scenes after intense scenes. Then you go to Lord of the Rings and you're seeing something different. You got to just relax yourself and try to submerge yourself in the world, the fantastical world that they've created. Yeah. And that, I think, brings me on to one of my first issues with the series. I, for some reason, just couldn't be brought into the world as much as I was with Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
I was watching this show, like a spectator rather than being submerged into the world. And I'm thinking, why is that? And I really think it's because, one of the reasons why is because the movies, directed by Peter Jackson, he went to, I think, New Zealand and he actually built...
It was really there.
He was really there, and he didn't build a set. He actually built the Hobbit homes.
Yeah.
And a lot of the scenes were set in real forests.
Yeah.
So you can zoom out and, appreciate the landscape. When Legolas and all these guys are doing their travels and walking and journeying, trying to find Mordor or whatever they're trying to find, you can camera zoom out. Oh yeah,
when they zoomed out, they're proper actually on the mountains.
See the mountains and everything. In this show, we never got to see the scale fully. And even when they tried to show off the scale, I just saw green screen. I could feel the green screen. You know when the elves have their conversation in that little garden?
Yeah.
I could almost see the green screen, and I'm thinking, if this was the movie, they would have built the whole thing. And I could just feel the CGI. I can feel the fake, let's say fakeness, call it fakeness, right? For the purpose of this movie. And that, for me, was one of the things that I just didn't like. I wanted it to be bigger, the scale, but I didn't really feel the scale.
That's a really good point, because I just want to make a quick point here that it's okay. I don't mind so much fakeness and CGI and things like Marvel, because it's action and I get it. This, because like you said, Peter Jackson set it in nature. That was part of the thing that kept you so grounded. I'm sure it's part of the reason why a lot of us want to watched it, because you feel like humans, we love nature. We are nature. So that contrast, not having that in this show, you're right. It gave it a bit of a coldness.
Yeah.
It doesn't allow you to fully get involved.
I just feel like we went from set to set to set to set, all the scenes, and then this set, and I felt like I didn't see enough, because there wasn't any traveling. People didn't travel. It was just from set to set, really.
The traveling was mostly done off screen. They're like, we're going to go from Numenor, we're going to go back to Numenor, and it's like, we don't see them. They're just there.
So I think that, for me, that was a problem.
Some of the other themes as well were around like the theme of death and deathlessness. And that really ties into, I think, even the original Lord of the Rings. The whole point of wanting the precious, of wanting the power, is to have eternal life, to not just have control of people, but for you to exist forever too. And that was definitely carried on throughout the show, particularly because this is the part of the origin of Sauron, right? Or part of his story and his arc. He wants the power. He wants to be eternal. When we're looking at elves have a privilege because they live like forever. Like it, and then you have other groups such as Harfoot who die and return to the earth. It is constantly contrasting these themes back and forth, and really sort of like even thinking about grief. The whole motivation for a lot of Galadriel's stuff is her brother dying. The grieving. So when people you love die, you don't always go and avenge them. That's just one version of grieving them, or honoring them. So
and she's been alive for a long time to still hold it. What do you guys think? What do you guys think of the character? I'm not gonna lie to you. If she's the main protagonist, which I think she was, I don't think she came across to me as the main protagonist. I think she had a cynicism about her that didn't sit well with me. I mean, it's fine if that's her character, but I didn't really understand her urgency fully. I didn't buy into her urgency, her need to go and find Sauron and get them in the ships. And I didn't really understand. I get it, he killed your brother and all these things, and you feel like he's coming, but I guess I didn't, some of her words, some of her actions, for me, I felt was a bit forceful.
Yeah, you could almost say anti-hero.
Yeah.
And I think some people even online were thinking, is she going to turn out to be Sauron? Because there's some sinister stuff that she says and actions she takes.
She says, especially to get people to do what she wants. I didn't really like that. But, she's the main character. I didn't understand. I don't think we spoke about it just before the video. I didn't understand why, after the whole, situation with Sauron, after Sauron was revealed himself to her, when she woke up out of that water, why didn't she immediately say, Sauron was here, I know where he is, let's go after him? But instead she just said, let's carry on. We don't need to talk about him. When he comes back here, make sure we don't let him in. And I'm thinking, what? This is the guy you've been looking for how many years? And that's it? That's your reaction? I thought that was a bit weird. But hey.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's something that I was confused about in terms of what is their dynamic throughout the show, her and Halbrand originally. I don't know if we were meant to assume that there was some sort of romantic interest or some sort of deeper connection between the two. But I don't know if how that landed, because if that's supposed to play into why she didn't do certain things or why she did certain actions, it didn't come across strong enough for me to actually get that point. So yeah, I find that interesting. I'm curious what you guys think as well. Other themes before we really get into like different groups of people through in the show. I think one of the themes for me that really sort of jumped out at me is around secrets and how secrecy is used. So, for example, obviously the main secret, Sauron, Halbrand keeping that secret himself. How soon on did he know? Did he recall his memory? Did he know from I think he knew from the moment that we see him. He already knew he was Sauron. And there's a lot of interesting wordplay that if you watch it back, you will notice. Like, technically, if he's like, I am the king of the Southlands because I'm Sauron, I'm king of everything. Like, it fits. Yeah. Like, it can fit into that rhetoric. So that secret itself was the main secret. But there were other secrets. So I think one I found really interesting was around the Mithril. In the Dwarf Kingdom, when they mined the Mithril and Elrond is there, not really sure how much to share with his brother from another mother and vice versa. That sort of way that the secrecy played out, but they decided to be honest and open with one another and actually share in a like collective, collaborative way rather than the terrifying sort of reveal of Sauron, which was obviously really clever with the whole way you looked into the reflection of the water.
Yeah, I like that.
But if you notice, actually, what I clocked first off, I was thinking, what is there something familiar about this raft that they're on? If you look at it from a certain distance, it looks like a morphed version of Sauron's crown or helmet.
Yeah, I mean, that's the whole point of it, I think. Yeah.
I never liked the Halbrand character.
Yes,
I couldn't...
You're right.
I didn't feel settled with him.
Something didn't sit right. When she first met him, I didn't like him. And do you know what? I saw he was her and her forcefulness. I even said she's forceful. And she forced everything on him. You're the king of the Southlands. No. And he didn't really say anything. He was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Like, and it was her sort of forcefulness that brought him into this position, brought him back to the Elfland. But yeah, he didn't sit well with me, so I could see something up. And if I'm being honest, I thought that the person that fell, the meteor from the sky, he was either going to be Gandalf.
Yeah.
Or Sauron. Mm-hmm. One of the two. Of course, he turned out to be Gandalf. Well, I assume he is.
We assume he's Gandalf. It's a nod to him, yeah.
It's a nod to Gandalf. Mm-hmm. He's saying all the Gandalf-y things.
Yeah.
And I thought that storyline was quite good. I enjoyed that.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. But going back to the hub, yeah, he didn't sit well with me at all, to be honest. But I still didn't suspect him to be Sauron.
Yeah.
He didn't sit well with me or didn't sit right with me. And he said there was something up, but I didn't think he would be Sauron until the last episode when he was starting to get too involved.
Yeah, the last episode
when he was like, you should do this. And you should, he was slow it down. He was like, well, how do you know all about this stuff? Yeah.
Suddenly he knows how to, he's helped them make the rings now.
Yeah.
Through him. Like,
that was like, okay, this guy, he's not who he says he is, clearly.
You know what, you're right. And can I even be more honest? More honest. To me, I'm thinking, as we got to maybe episode 5, I'm thinking, this guy must be somebody because, I'm sorry, but his storyline is boring. Why is he still here? Why is he still around? Now it makes sense why he's there, because he's supposed to be the turn. It's supposed to be the twist in the story.
He didn't do anything. He was just, just a guy and a normal guy.
Sounds so rude. Why are you
you're right. I've seen people even comment on that, saying it had to be something going on with him, he doing because he was just not adding anything to the story.
No.
Really.
Thinking about themes of like survival and how you do that, what that looks like, but also community. I think community, that's one of my favorite themes from the whole thing. And like you said, the group that made me feel the most community, that drew me in.
Half-footizzles.
The half-foots.
They're like the hobbits, aren't they?
Yeah. I really enjoyed them. I think that's probably what kept me interested initially in the show, is the storyline with the stranger. Speaking of secrets, a massive secret that Nori does keep for a while. She doesn't tell anyone that she's found the stranger, this Istari that's come down from the sky. So that in itself, good and bad secrets.
Yeah, they did well to play because I couldn't decide whether this guy was good or bad. Throughout the whole thing, I was like, is he going to be good? I thought this guy was going to be because clearly he's got a blank canvas, as in you can imprint something on him. You know,
Great point.
So whether you want him
Yes.
to be good, you can push him to the good side, or whether you want him to be bad, you can push him to the bad side, because he didn't have any memory, didn't know what to do, all these things. And because of that, I was literally open to whether he was going to go left or right. I was just open. I think, okay, the very last episode, we're going to find out.
Yeah.
Because he's going to get pushed to do something. So yeah, I think the way they did that was good. I think the way they did both. I didn't like the Sauron character, but the way they did the twist was good, and the way that they revealed Gandalf, I enjoyed that. I think that was done well.
Yeah.
Personally, but
Yeah,
you guys can
absolutely.
disagree and let me know why you don't think it was done well. But I enjoyed it. I enjoyed the twist.
It was done well, and you know what else? You just made me think of. We were in on the secret on a couple of secrets, because obviously we're viewing and we knew about the mithril, and we knew that Elrond had a decision to make about how much he was going to share and whether Durin was going to share it back with it. But the secret that we were sort of involved in a nice way was Nori and the stranger initially. Spending time together, just without language, even without words at times, just through physical communication and spiritual communication. That was really beautiful and interesting. Getting to see that really fleshed out and gave space for us to really buy into that, like you said, this person, this being could go either way here, because Nori just kept on being that good angel on his shoulder saying, no, you are good, you are good, you are.
Yeah.
And for me, for some reason, I don't know, I just like, he's good, because Nori, she gives him that, clout. If she's standing next to him saying, you're good and I believe in you, I think Harfoots are pretty intuitive in terms of how they can survive where they survive. So she was on the right track.
Yeah.
But also, you're right, because it's not just about, if he came down and bad people got hold of him, he could easily be turned.
Of course.
Because he sort of started to do some things with the three grey ladies that came down and were like trying to help him. I forget what they're called.
Rand us what they're called, guys.
Yeah, drop their names. That's why I was thinking, this guy, they can't be associated with Gandalf. Surely, they don't seem chill at all.
No, not at all.
Yeah, let's get into actually the groupings of people in the community.
Yeah, okay, let's talk about it.
So let's start with the dwarves, since you mentioned them.
The dwarves.
Yeah, so we have King Durin.
Yes.
We have his son, Durin, who's friends with Elrond. And we have Durin's wife,
Disa.
I really enjoyed getting to see the sort of inner world of the dwarves. I did actually think that storyline was probably my second favourite.
I wanted to see more, though.
And Numenorians, but we'll get onto them.
Yeah.
The Dwarf Kingdom.
I want to see more. I liked her singing. Her singing like episode or scene was just so good.
Yes.
I liked it. I liked the diversity, I guess. It was good to see. She had she had her hair down on the side of, she had more sideburns than me. You know what I mean? But yeah, it was good to see the relationship, because in Lord of the Rings, as far as I'm concerned, there's only one dwarf.
Yeah.
And that's it.
Yeah.
Because I think the dwarves have been. So to see the Dwarf Kingdom it was really good to see. I enjoyed being there. It was very dark though, and I did want to see more.
Yeah.
To be fair.
You're right. I think the conversation.
Once again, the scale wasn't.
It was just one room, some rocks, and they were like, let's just sit in here with a candle.
But some of the conversations,
it's the conversations.
Was so deep and detailed, especially between him and his father.
And then him and Elrond talking about brotherhood, almost having a meta conversation. Like, there's something I know, and I don't know whether I should share it with you. And then he's like, well, something I know, and I don't know if I should share it. When you have that kind of openness in communication in a relationship dynamic, whatever the dynamic is, it's really good. One of the most important scenes in the whole series between Disa and Durin, when she's like, well, what are we going to do? Your dad said don't give him the mithril, but you're Durin. What do you want to do? What do we do? What do we stand for? What do our hearts and morals stand for? Do you think your dad's wrong? If you think he's wrong, you should go back to your brother and you should say it. I think that was so interesting, because that was what I'm talking about, like choice and free will, and how do you make these choices? Go against your own father? Yeah. Doesn't his father want to cast him out after that?
Yeah.
It's like, it's a lot. It's a big sacrifice to make, to be like, I'm going to help another race survive at potentially the expense of my own. Wow.
Yeah. Another dynamic as well, another sort of father-son dynamic, of course, is between Elendil and Pippin, his son. Isildur, I think.
Yes, the
king,
Numenors.
the Numenors, the
Yes.
captain, and his son. I think what happened to his son, it's so tragic, but it shows, the different people and how he was willing, even when he knew his son had died, to still persevere.
Yeah.
And that is strength. And it also, he revealed his love for the queen.
I mean, we
kind of...
I got that sense because
Yeah.
he just reminded me of like a doting, someone who just loves you unconditionally and he will serve you to the end of the earth type person.
We got Lenny. My boy, Lenny Henry.
Sir Lenny Henry.
From Jamaica.
He's a massive...
He's a British hero.
Yes,
He's a very important person for Britain. When we're talking about the firsts, one of the first black comedians in Britain, Lenny Henry, he paved the way for a lot of things to happen in this country for people who look like me. So yeah, I love seeing Lenny Henry in this show.
Yes, sir.
As Sadok Burrows.
Oh, he was just... The scene... I normally cry about everything, but the scene that actually made me cry was that scene where he's like, I'm just going to rest a while. And I'm like, oh my God.
When I saw that, I thought to myself, couldn't Gandalf have helped him somehow?
Yeah,
let's call him Gandalf. But couldn't he have helped him somehow? That's the first thing I thought when that happened, to be fair.
Yeah, the way he was just like, it's okay, I'm going back to my good lady wife. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, it's so beautiful. And the way the rest, like Nori, Poppy, they sit around him, they're like, okay, we'll sit and rest a while too. It's like, it's community at its finest. It's
they're definitely the center of the show. The show senses those people.
Yeah,
and it grounds us. It grounds us every now and again when we're going off and we're fighting and we're seeing all these people die. It just brings us back to the Harfoots and their community and their loving community, and it grounds us because that's, for me, what Lord of the Rings is about at its core.
Just quickly jumping back to the Numenorians. I don't know what Numenorians I'm going to call them.
Numenorians. Mandalorians.
Queen Muriel, or Princess Muriel, she just stood out as...
So regal,
so interesting. The complexity of her character, and clearly she has some kind of love for Elendil as well. And it's like... Not that she's going to consummate it, like there's certain unwritten rules or whatever about, I don't know, maybe they get together in season 2, but I think for me that I got choked up when she was like, when are we going to come out of this smog? Yeah. And I was like, girl, we've been out of this, you've been out for a while.
Girl, you've been out for a while, your eyes, something wrong with your eyes.
And then when she was like, how long has it been? It's been an hour. And I'm thinking, oh my gosh, maybe she can't see any. And then it turns out she's blinded, but she's still going to carry on with her duty. And she sees it as a sacrifice that if I'm not willing to actually sacrifice stuff, what kind of leader am I? I have to be a leader that leads by example. And
I think that the decisions she made were the right decisions. I think she made some tough decisions. I think she's a good queen with a good heart, and she has her people always at the center of her decisions. It's a shame that she went blind, but she didn't spend time wallowing and crying. She just, okay, I'm blind. Let's move on. Let's move. And that's what I liked about her. I think she was casted well. I like the actress.
She's fantastic.
Cynthia Ade Robinson.
I'm sure she's in
a lot of things.
Is she in Arrow?
I don't know. I don't watch Arrow.
She might be. Let me know if I'm right, guys, if she's in Arrow. I haven't finished all of Arrow. I've only seen some of it. Okay, so who have we visited so far? We visited the Numenorians. We talked about the dwarves.
Elves.
We haven't really touched upon the elves. We talked about Galadriel, so let's go back to her quickly because I don't know what you guys think about the person cast as Galadriel. She's a brilliant actress. I can see that because when you see who she is and how she is normally, like you can see. I don't know why I didn't connect in a way that I'm guessing the showrunners want you to connect with her. But maybe that's because I'm not that involved in Lord of the Rings.
I don't understand what she is trying to portray, what her character is trying to portray, if that makes sense. Are we supposed to really, really like her and really root for her?
I don't think
or are we supposed to see her as someone who's a bit of an anti-hero? Or are we supposed to see her as somebody who makes mistakes? Like, how are we supposed to see her? And I just hope that I'm seeing her in the way that the director wants me to see her and that they haven't miscasted. Because sometimes I think to myself, I just want to know what the aim was in the first place.
Yeah.
And see if the way I see the character is how the director wanted me to see it. Because no point in me complaining and say she's this, she's that, and then it turns out she's supposed to be that.
Yeah, the director's like, no, I wanted you to get that feeling. I didn't want you to like her like her.
Yeah. So
that might be it.
That might be it. Maybe she's not always supposed to be the most likable, but she's likable enough. She's a good enough character, but she makes mistakes and she might make a bad decision here or there.
You know what you just made me think of? In the movies, the trilogy, Galadriel, the older version.
She's not.
I didn't like her character. She was scary to me on screen. I remember seeing it in the cinema. I was like, what the hell?
True.
She's
true.
like,
you're right.
There's times when she goes like rage mode and you see like...
Sometimes we forget who these characters are in Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, and they'll be even more complex before they get to where they're at. Like she's grown and probably learned a lot at that point. Going between feeling a bit uneasy, terrified to... Okay, you're interesting. I think the way she treated Bronwyn's son, Theo, I loved that dynamic. She kind of was like, well, you're in this fight now, so let me give you... She gave him a sword. She respected him. She was trying to... that was the first time I saw her really try and connect with someone outside of just her and Halbrand or being just
just being... Yeah, because for the whole show, she was like, let's go to these people, let's get the orcs, and then she had a time to just relax and just have a conversation with somebody about something, you know, and be even though you're not human, be human.
Yeah.
And also, they're elves. So elves are not human. There is a big difference between who they are and even though the Half-Orcs are not human either, but the Half-Orcs and who they are and how they speak and how they see the world.
Speaking of the
Southlanders, I like. You know what? Who we need to mention?
We haven't mentioned one of my favorite elf so far.
Aronde.
I run there, I run back. I run there, I run back.
Aronde, he was like the Legolas, wasn't he? Kind of.
Yeah.
In this series.
Oh, I hope
you guys ain't got no issue with this.
Melanin.
With this, you know, because it is what it is, and a lot of people just don't want people like this in Middle Earth. They don't want to see people like this in Game of Thrones and Lord of the Rings. They don't want to see people like me at all in any of these shows because, you know, it's Middle Earth and it's based on England. So basically they're showing who they... Anyway. But yeah, I'm glad he was in the show. He played another important role because love. Once again, that theme of love. And not just love, hidden love.
He loves a human.
Because he had to hide the love. And it's a love that's cross-species.
Yeah.
Technically speaking, cross-species love.
Actual interracial.
Yeah, the definition.
Technically, yeah.
Of interracial. Funny. And as far as I'm concerned, I assume that's his son. It is his son.
Yes. Oh,
as
Theo.
Well. Theo. So,
such an interesting character arc for him too.
Yeah. That storyline was probably my favorite. My favorite. You know, what he did and how he was captured and what he's willing to do for, I guess, the mother of his child. The fact I don't think he even admitted or even spoke to his son and even confirmed
he didn't call him son or anything
that he was his son ever in the whole of the 9 episodes at all.
It was an unspoken thing.
Which is quite interesting. I noticed that his son covered his ears with his hair.
Yeah.
So I assumed from the first episode that he had elf ears, but
me too.
It was never.
But we never
saw.
It
was never shown to us. But yeah, that dynamic. I think that character was very important. He was the first one to come in contact with the orcs, and he had humility about him that the other elves I don't think had.
Absolutely.
I don't think they had the same humility as he did.
You're right, and I think that's that's what set him apart. That's why he had that posting. Why he was there, supposed to be guarding and that watchtower particularly. But I liked that. I liked that he moved away a little bit from what the traditional elven ways are, and he opened himself up. As you naturally do, you go out and you explore the world. I think with Theo, he could have easily been corrupted. And I was thinking initially, is this young boy going to get tricked or corrupted into something?
Yeah.
It
even crossed my mind that he might grow up to be Sauron.
Yeah, that's a good point. We did think earlier on, we're like, ooh,
I don't know how that could have worked, but I even thought that. We saw Mordor. I love the name change.
It's true.
To Mordor.
It was like, nope,
cool.
It's
some iMovie. And also the fact that, you know, we saw how the sky turned grey. There's no
Yeah,
more
Mount
sun.
Doom.
There's no more sun, and that's why the orcs can now roam the land.
The orcs.
What can we say about the orcs?
Adar. 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 That's what we can say, because that's what they said.
Apparently, he defeated. Correct us if we're wrong, of course, but he defeated Sauron.
Yeah, that's why Sauron's like, pew. He had to kind of move away, right?
Even I think he even said it. He said, "Where's Sauron?" And he said, "He's dead." When Galadriel was interviewing him, she asked him where he was, and he said, "He's dead. I killed him." And that confused me. I think you killed him. How have you killed him? According to the books or whatever, I think that's what happens. I think he does kill him, and the orcs kill Sauron. Tell us if we're wrong, because we need to learn. We don't know a lot, but if we're wrong, let us know. And yeah, they're also interesting. I think he was an interesting character. Very interesting character.
Yeah. You know, when you first see him, I'm like, is he an elf? Is he a fallen elf? Is he a tortured elf? Which I know that some stories about how Uruks or orcs are created or made. There's lots of kind of... You guys are going to have to explain it to us, because I don't understand fully whether they're made by Sauron, whether some people say they're...
This fictional stuff.
Elves, a band of bad elves kind of tortured some other elves and turned them into orcs. So I'm just curious, like, which canon or which one are we following here?
Remember, guys, this is only fiction.
Yeah.
And it's not real. And I want you guys to really remember that.
Yeah, try hold on to that.
As much as you want to get angry or get upset or sad, I want you guys to remember that this is just fiction.
You're right. And if you're attaching it to something real for you, that real thing is still real. Like, I know some of it is based on English, Welsh, Celtic, like legends, mythology, heritage. That still all exists even if we don't have Lord of the Rings. So it's still there.
You told me that they're planning more seasons, right?
Yeah, apparently like 5.
I think the way it ended, I don't think it ended on a cliffhanger. I don't think it showed... I mean, of course, Gandalf, went on his journey and whatnot, but I don't think it needs another season. I mean, if there is another season, I'd probably watch it. But if there isn't, I'd understand why as well.
I was just surprised, really, by the ending, where it's like Sauron's just sort of rocking up, seeing Mount Doom, Middle Earth.
How did he get there so quickly?
I'm like, how'd you get back there so quickly? Why did you leave if you're just going to go back there anyway? Why don't you just hang out on the corner and just kind of come back? If that's meant to be Sauron, if this is meant to be the big reveal, meh. It's just...
Yeah, I like the twist, but I wanted more with the reveal. I didn't understand sort of when she stabbed him in his hand. Well, he went into her mind. Where did he go? How did she just end up in the water? It was just... For me, that whole scene was so random. And
I don't find him scary. Like,
I mean, I don't have a problem with that. That's a good thing. I don't like the way Hollywood try to brainwash us. A villain has to look this way. A villain has to sound this. I don't like that, and that's what we all suffer from. We all suffer from it. He doesn't have that deep voice, or he doesn't have a scar on his face, or he smiles too much. He can't be Sauron. We all suffer from that stupidity. Because Hollywood just makes us think a villain has to look that way. When, the Bible talks about if you're religious, the devil being the most beautiful angel. I don't have a problem with him being the way he is as Sauron, personally. Because it stretches your brain as well. And a lot of people will have a problem. And a lot of people will not like it because of how he is. I just have a problem with other stuff. Like I said, how did he get there so quickly? And, I wish I saw... Yeah, cool, Uber. I mean, all in all, I don't know if you want to wrap up or you got...
Yeah, let's wrap up. I actually give it a bit lower than you. I give it a 6 out of 10.
I mean, I gave it a 6.5. I'll stick with a 6.5.
Okay. Yeah. Not necessarily for all the acting or anything like that, because like I said, there are characters in each grouping that I find really interesting and I can sit with and enjoy their presence. So yeah, but it's a 6 out of 10 overall, because I'm still a bit like, what were you trying to achieve?
It didn't end in a way that I thought, I can't wait for the other 4 seasons. Or, there has to be at least 2 or 3 more seasons in this. It didn't end that way at all. I think that's what they should have done, really. End it on a cliffhanger. They revealed everything and then they ended. They finished it, but they've also left it open to continue. Yeah. Rather than, leave it in a cliffhanger, because there's definitely going to be a second season.
Yeah, that makes sense.
You know what I'm saying? You're trying to portray something that's a movie into a 9-part series. A slow-paced movie into a slow-paced 9-part series. it's difficult.
Yeah.
Because people don't have the attention span. People want action now. People want speed. I don't think they got the tempo fully correct, personally.
That's fair. I see that.
And like I said, the scale, I didn't really feel the scale. I didn't feel the importance. When dark things were happening, I didn't feel scared. I didn't really feel the gravity of what was going on. So I don't really, that could be a director thing. I don't know. Or it might be, as I said before, I'm watching other things at the same time that are just crazy, quick, crazy fast paced, such like Game of Thrones.
You're right.
And, like I said, some people just don't know how to just readjust and say, this is a fantasy. Game of Thrones is just some thriller. It's a really dark thriller. There's not a lot of love. And if there is love in Game of Thrones, it's INCEST.
Yeah.
So,
you know what?
Yeah.
You're one of our subscribers, Tricky D, mentioned that point you made about Game of Thrones, that because it's so like adrenaline inducing, stress inducing, you can have vicarious stress when you're watching something like that, and it can, raises your heart rate, stresses you out, you think about it afterwards. So a show like this running alongside it is a massive departure from it. So in some ways it can be really good because you get to take a break from all the death and destruction, but at the same time
you won't appreciate it,
and it's too similar. It's like you're asking us to suspend our belief and be in this world, and then go and watch another show and suspend our belief fantastically in that world.
I think some people can't do it. All in all, summarize, I think it was a good show. It wasn't terrible. If you're watching something and you're enjoying it, you're enjoying it. You enjoyed it.
Yeah.
It wasn't great.
I enjoyed it enough.
We've critiqued it. We've given our negative points, but we've also given it some positive points.
Mm-hmm.
I'm all talked out. I think are you all talked out? What do you guys think? Comment below.
Yeah, let us
Ask
know
us some questions. We love to respond. We're gonna have more things like this coming up. Let us know what you want us to watch. Comment below.
Yeah, if you
Give
have
us some
anything,
tips.
any suggestions.
Yeah, nothing too long. Maybe something short, and we'll just do a quick video.
Yeah.
This video is going to be long, but if you've lasted to the end of this video, then what do you want these guys to say? Ooh. Rings of power.
Yeah.
Just comment below rings of power if you've managed to last this long, which is almost an hour.
Yeah, well done, guys.
After this, gonna go to kitchen, eat some flour.
In the form of pizza.
Yeah, man. All right. Love you guys. Peace out.